You know, 90% of other inspectors did something useless, would you also want to do something useless?
So I was straightforward with him. I said, I've been looking into it, but I haven't pulled the trigger, and here's why. And I told him really the main.
Hi, I'm Gary Smith, and I'm here with Charles Buell. Charles is in Seattle, and Dusty Jameson, and he is in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Gary Smith, and we're in Jackson, Mississippi, and we are in the house bringing you the perspectives of the day on the latest inspection news and events. Thank you for joining us in our open mic show, and whoever else wants to join in can dive in and ask some questions. Today, we're just here doing Q&A and talking about anything that we want to talk about. And I love the camera angle that Dusty has. He's got the little one in the house, and I think his wife ran him out on the patio, which is pretty cool. So what's going on? I know I asked Dusty in the pre-show here what's happening, and he is just slammed with work. Talk about it, Dusty.
Yeah, we're Knoxville. The market it's really hot right now. I had a realtor tell me just Friday. He was talking about the inventory being down. They've got some sort of stat that. Something about the inventory of houses. If you stop putting houses on the market today, how long would it take to sell the inventory? And he said usually it goes about a year to a year and a half out at times. And he said right now it's at about 4 months. So the inventory is really low. I know the price range basically between, 150, 175 up to about 250 to 300. Within hours of putting a house on the market, you're going to get multiple offers.
Yeah.
It's as soon as you put them on actually that same realtor, the house that I was inspecting for him, that one had 14 appointment showings that were scheduled within the first 12 hours that it was on the market. And they just lucked up and they accepted their offer. They put the highest offer in. So, yeah, it's really hot. We're running full force right now, doing as much as we can, trying to keep up with it all.
Yeah. I'm experiencing the same kind of issue with the value, and agents are complaining that the appraisals aren't coming in to cover the contract price, and that's always challenging. It's that way in it's been that way for a while in Washington, hasn't it, Charles?
Yeah, it's been terminal to the point where there's so little inventory, there aren't enough inspections happening. Honestly, while each house might have 10 inspections, that doesn't cover 1,200 inspectors very well.
Right. Yeah.
Don't you get into situations there where you have multiple inspectors at a house doing a job at once?
Yeah, I've been on several where there were 5 there at once, and we're leaving using each other's ladders and leaving the panel cover off for each other and all kinds of nonsense. And honestly, I have issues with it because I think it can trash a house.
Absolutely.
Right.
We have sellers actually flat out refusing pre-offer inspections. Walk-through inspections for that reason. It's just too stressful in the house.
Right. Greg Shear saying the same thing. Northeast Pennsylvania is the same. And it kind of echoes that place where we are. We're kind of a cyclical profession, industry, and I guess we've talked about that. So guys in the group and those of listening, if you miss a show or two, it's only because we are panting with so much work. We may skip a week or two in the year here as we move forward.
To follow up on that too, the fact of the market being so hot, and I've been in it long enough to have seen this happen before, where you're getting floods of real estate agents, you're getting floods of inspectors and different professions that everybody is joining in now. And that's always slippery slope. Seen it come and go before, and it's
with the influx of new people coming into the profession. Yeah, that's going to be a challenge too. You know, we've talked about some marketing stuff here on the show before, and if you're putting all your eggs in one basket and making too much of a habit of marketing to real estate agents, you may be sadly disappointed when the market starts to turn. You're going to need more help than that.
Yep.
Yeah, when I first started into this, I marketed hard to agents by going to every open house I could possibly find, you know, and a lot of those agents watching open houses were agents that were also new. And you quickly realize that after a few years, they never made it. And you're always worried about, well, they're going to see I'm a newbie. Well, they're a newbie too. You know, so it's starting out. I think it's a good lesson for beginning home inspectors to realize that it doesn't take long before you have way more experience than the agents you're dealing with. There are the old ones that have been around since time began, but you know, they got their stable of agents or stable of home inspectors. So,
Charlie, you just got back from another stint at the college.
Yeah.
How did that go? How many students you have? We
had 11 students. It was a good class and fun. It's all. You know, it's a grueling 135 hour class, our course, and I teach a week of it. But I do 4 days teaching, 8 hours, 40 hours or whatever.
Great, that's great.
I do.
Did you have a tinfoil hat?
You know, I sometimes wear it.
His tinfoil hat.
It's my buddy Dylan Chalk, who I did the 8 hour class with last Friday. He picked it up in his stuff. So he sent me a picture with his kid wearing it. I thought that was pretty cute.
Yeah. So, you know, we have a little bit of a like all professions, construction industry is predominantly male, but there are many females coming into this profession that we're in. Charlie, how many females do you have in your class?
We had just one this time. There's generally one. We've had classes with 2, but we limit the class to 12 students. So because we can't take more than 5 or 6 on field training, it's just unmanageable with and that. So we limit the class to 12. This time we had 11. And one woman, she's early 30s, and like I told her, I said, you know, and everybody knows you have the hugest learning curve coming into this class, but you have everything it takes to be a home inspector. You have great personality, people skills, and that's stuff you can't teach. So you're ahead of the curve in that respect, and you're just going to have to, you know, spend days at Home Depot and learn stuff.
Right, become familiar with all of the parts and all the tools and all the things that you need to do to be able to provide your client with the kind of data they're looking for.
I wonder if there would be just from traditionally, like you said, there's more males in the industry, from somewhere like Knoxville or Mississippi versus Seattle, where Charlie's from. I wonder how successful women can be in those two different areas. I don't know, just from
does population matter? Are you talking about the demographics?
I'm talking about demographics because I think it would be harder in Knoxville and Mississippi for a woman to penetrate through the traditional male industry.
Stereotypical, yeah.
Exactly. The old boy networks.
Exactly, versus progressive Seattle, where you probably have it's a little more. It's obviously more liberal, definitely more liberal.
Yeah, I mean, here we just have absolutely no space, no tolerance for any of that kind of nonsense.
Right.
Just say, everybody's seen as equal, and if you're not, as an instructor, you're out yourself. So
right, sure, yeah, as rightly so. Yeah. So, I'm, have you gotten your copy of, uh,
I haven't opened it, but I've got it.
Working Real Estate Home Inspector Guerrilla Marketing is on the cover this month, or this, I think they're biannually. I think they're published twice a year. And they've got some pretty good articles in it this time. I get it. Do you get that, Russ?
I got it,
You
and
get that?
but I didn't change my address from my old house that I just sold to my new one, so I haven't seen it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's got some interesting stuff in here, and I just thumbing through it earlier, and didn't realize that these guys are getting into the 90-day warranty business. So we've got an insurance company. Obviously, they're in the insurance business, so it would be a natural progression for them to be in a warranty
Mm-hmm.
business. But I just didn't realize that we have a whole bunch of services here. This whole publication is obviously promoting their family of products and is geared toward appraisals and home inspectors. The two publications that I've been reading. So good book, good read. He addresses a good many kind of a popular topics that are going on right now and all around, which is a pre-listing inspections and
Buyback and warranty.
Right. That and large money coming into the profession. There's an article in there with some opinions about how they feel about that topic. Dusty, where are you on that?
I've tossed around recently buyback. I'm still torn. It's
Mm-hmm.
that there's ups and downs to both. There's two or three guys that I talk to on a regular occasion, and so generally what I pull from those two will generally be what I start to myself fall in line with. So the fact that those two don't really do much with them,
Right.
that kind of steers me away from it as well. But I don't know. I've been torn on it. I've been trying to figure out whether I want to do it. The thing is, I've only had one person who asked if I offered any type of warranty. And I kind of went through the spiel of why I don't. And they were fine with it. They scheduled with me. We did a job, and that was it. So I don't think I'm losing any business. But at the same time too, it would be dumb not to notice what everybody around me is doing and not to at least be aware of it and know if I needed to try to add something on or not. But so far, no, I don't want to.
So you have your ear to the ground, and maybe some of your business decisions might be kind of like just kind of keeping an eye on the competition and what they're doing, not necessarily following them, but prepare your rebuttal if that type of topic comes up. What do you say?
Yep.
What's your pitch?
I mean,
go ahead, Charles.
no, I was just going to say, does it concern you that, if 90% of other inspectors did something useless, would you also want to do something useless?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying
no.
this, I'm just saying, I'm using that as just an example to scratch our heads over. I mean, I don't see how it's anything but a gimmick at this point.
That's the thing is, I'm not going to follow the masses to do what they're wanting to do.
Right.
That's why I concentrate, and that's kind of how I use the forums, is to pick the information out of it that I think is knowledgeable, logical. And that's why, relating that, I think those two or three guys that I talk to on normal occasion, that's who I'm going to hang my, I'm going to hang my hat on all of what they're telling me and what they're doing. I'm kind of putting all of that together. So, the masses may be going one direction, but if these certain group of people that I talk with, if they're doing something, I'm going to do what they're doing, because that seems to be the guys that are, in my eyes, the cream of the crop. That's who I want to kind of associate with. So when the guy asked me before, he called and he was getting ready to schedule, and he said, "Do you offer any type of warranty?" I've been calling around, and there's one company who they'll offer a 90-day warranty, and he listed what it was through. So I was straightforward with him. I said, I've been looking into it, but I haven't pulled the trigger, and here's why. And I told him, really, the main thing is part of selling information. I don't know what information is getting sold. I'm really not sure. I haven't got into the details of it, so I'm not going to say that it does get sold out, but that's part of the stereotype, is that some of the buyers and the client's information is getting pushed out to other places, and I don't want that to happen. So that's what I told that guy. I said, look, I've looked into it, but I don't do it myself. But for us, we've been around for 25 years, so I don't have a warranty service company providing a warranty, but I have my own. We have our own policy. If we do miss something, we're going to stand behind it. So, and we've got a track record. So that's what I told him.
And anytime you tell a consumer you're concerned about the protection of their information, that's a huge plus for you right there.
Right. Kind of like I've done it before.
Use it as a way to support your business model as opposed to something to get on board with.
Right, and that was my kind of passive way to do that. Just kind of push that one over there. So
awesome.
Right. So there is another side to that, and the other side that was prominent to me when looking at the sharing of data, just had a little back strain. So I went into the medical clinic, my local medical clinic, and I haven't been in a while. I'm pretty healthy. And shortly afterwards, I start getting emails and text messages through my phone about medical services and medical stuff. And I'm beginning to feel like that someone shared my information and sold my information, or shared it some way. My information got, so I just kind of.
Did you look up the doctor's number on Google or anything?
No, it's a trusted care provider.
But did you have to look up the number on the internet, or did you just?
No. There may have been. I may have done that. Yeah. To confirm, because they had moved. I know they had moved.
That's a link right there. It's amazing how they farm that information.
Right. So you're saying that because I use the internet and use my browser, that there is a potential for some company to screen scrape or somehow gather data through browser usage.
Well, haven't you ever looked for something? Haven't you ever looked for something on the internet, and the next thing you know, that sidebar is full of all the kinds of things you just love it.
All the ads follow you around. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So, that's particularly challenging. Dusty, are you into the pre-listing inspections? Did we talk about this before on another show?
No, we kind of grazed across it. We've done pre-listing inspections for years. I don't have any program that I'm
connection with the program. There's 2 or 3 out there that are really popular right now, or trying to become popular, and
exactly.
They're certainly in the marketplace.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we've done pre-listings, and I actually this week I just did a kind of a semi pre-listing. That big house, that 10,000 square foot, that was a kind of a pre-listing. He wasn't selling now, but he is in a year or two, so he wants to make sure he's ahead of the game. We've done them for a long time, but no, it's not connected to any of the marketing stuff. And again, I've got my ear to the ground. I'm looking at all of that, but I just don't. It's hard to pull the trigger on those things right now. We're so busy. Why waste the time to spend money and time on all of that whenever we're providing a good service and we don't need those things.
Right. So you think that might be something you revisit in October, November, December, and look at it and see what you.
Yeah, possibly. But then you're still worried about the hurdle of clients' data and. The cost of some of this stuff, there's cost with it. With certain programs, you've got a cost per inspection, and it's, I don't know. I'm looking at them, but there's nothing that's made me want to jump into it full force at this point.
Yeah. So that conservative, reserved attitude toward that you're taking, is that, I'm seeing that as a very prudent policy to take, to rather than jumping right away to something that maybe our profession should slow down a little bit. We've got some big money pushing some really big ideas, and all of those ideas may not be good for our profession.
Right.
Well, the Pied Piper makes me nervous whenever he's around. Just I'm not. I think we have to be careful about where these guys are trying to lead us.
So for me, the remaining independent and without question, and as it relates to ethics, I think is paramount in as the first line of defense to ward off any potential idea that you're colluding in any kind of way to do something other than what you're being hired to do, which is to provide information to your client about the conditions of the property. The rest of that stuff is all added extra stuff.
Yeah, and that kind of jumps over into something I saw Charles talking about earlier today, about having a contractors list, and having a contractors list either in the report or up on the website. And so I didn't chime in on that one. I've been busy this morning, but yeah, that kind of grazes up against that subject of I've put a contractors list on our website of trusted contractors, and it's got a big heading, kind of a disclaimer right at the top. I don't have any association with them other than I've seen their work. I've seen they do really good work. And if anybody who uses those contractors has an issue, call me, because they're not going to stay on the list. And so I've got one of those. I don't put it straight in the report, but if anybody ever asks, I send them straight to the website, which is obviously going to boost SEO. So that's another perk of that as well.
I think that's really prudent. I have a hidden list of good agents, and whenever anybody asks for agents, I give them the link to it. But it's not something that can be found in a search or anything. It doesn't. You're not going to see it anywhere on my website, but I do have a hidden web page for that stuff.
That's funny. I never get asked for agents. That's one thing that I never get asked for. I'm always too late before, somebody's got an agent before they even talk to me.
I've been seeing it happen more and more because I have my blog that it tracks so many clients, so many people. They're following my blog for a couple of years before they even start buying a house.
That makes sense.
For me personally, I was a contractor so long here in the city that I developed a large following and a lot of the girls and guys that are still in the business well after I've gotten out of the building business directly, and that they know me and have contacted me that they're going crazy and that I know anyone who just got their license that wanted to come to their agency and things like that. So I have conversations with agents about agencies and the like, but it's a little bit different.
Another thought I've had about the whole pre-listing thing, it seems to be of special interest to the business models out there that require 50 inspections a week or 100 inspections a week, multi-inspector firms, where they're looking for ways to maintain that flow of number of inspections through the door every week. So I don't see any reason why that would be of any interest to a sole proprietor. You know what I mean? But
I think it's just not the program. I'm not talking specifically about the program, but the idea of a pre-listing inspection in general. I think that's the absolute best inspection that you could have, in terms of if you're selling a house. I've just seen so many deals. I had one did an inspection, and they had no clue that their bathroom floor had rotted out, and it actually extended over into a hallway too. they had about $15,000 to $20,000 worth of damage. And, you know, they had already accepted an offer that was pretty much as low as they could take. But that floor, I went through the crawl space and the floor was rotted completely. And that was the perfect example. I mean, if they had that if they'd known that beforehand, either they could have A, fixed it, or B, not accepted the lowest offer, just kind of made concession for that. So I think a pre-listing inspection is probably the smartest thing that you can do, but you know, that's not necessarily speaking to the programs. It's just
most agents don't want you to do them. You know, I've had people call me specifically to get pre-listing inspections done, and I'll ask them who their agent is, and they said, well, it's XYZ, and I said, so we talk about lining up the inspection, and the next thing I know, I'm getting a call back. My agent doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the ostrich with the head in the sand mentality. Well, maybe that other inspector won't find these things that you'll bring to our attention, and then we have to disclose it all. So, you know, it's a complicated question. Not
Dusty, have you run into a situation where you performed a pre-listing inspection and another inspector was also called in afterwards, and then there was this report comparing thing?
Oh,
and
I'm sure.
You wound up having to defend your report or not?
No, never had to defend, because I go into pre-listing inspections with the mindset is somebody's coming in behind me to check.
That's right.
And so,
if anything, you're going to be more thorough.
Exactly. And that's what I tell the clients. I say, look, when I'm coming through on a pre-listing inspection, I'm going to tell you every screw that's loose, because I don't want somebody to come in and, one, find something that I didn't find, but two, find something and paint it in a worse light than it really is. There may be something that's not all that big of a deal. I'm going to tell the client about it, but also tell them, you know, it's a minor repair, versus a buyer's inspector may just say, you know, this is a big issue, it needs to be fixed. So it kind of gives a little bit of a buffer, I think.
I saw one time where I did it on this really, really big, expensive house, and they had my thing all printed out, glossy, laser printed pamphlet, and it had the contractor, all his notes all through it with this corrected and that corrected. And yeah, it's kind of cool, really. I mean, that's a great approach, I think.
Were you asked specifically by the buyer, or did you just do it by default to go to those areas and spook it down to make sure that he had done that the contractors had performed? And
I don't understand the question.
Did you grab the report and then go straight to that place where it was being repaired or to be repaired and check that to make sure the repair was adequate?
Oh, well, I mean, I never attest to the adequacy of any repair. I just look at it the same way I would any inspection. You can't see behind the walls. You can't. It's a visual inspection again. This whole idea that you warrant anything that anybody else has done.
So then what you're doing now, when there is another inspection out there, you're engaging in a conversation that is different than the conversation that you would normally have had the inspection not been there. So you're spending extra time either defending your position as what a great job I'm doing, or you're defending or potentially have the opportunity, and I think that this could be very apparent at some point, throwing the next guy under the bus whenever that comes in. There is this opportunity for an inspector who did one for the seller. He did a great job. And then the next guy comes in, and because you did a great job, there's nothing left to find. You know, obviously there's nothing left to find, but he comes in and finds three things that's goofy. It's on his report, but it's goofy. You still have to address that, because more than likely the seller is going to call you and say, hey man, why didn't you find this? Now you're spending extra time defending the fact that maybe he didn't. I mean, how do you do that?
Well, I guess it can happen, but just, I haven't had it happen. I just say, inspect like crazy. I mean, it's just.
And then when the phone rings, you just deal with it the way you deal with it. Yeah. And we just continue to evolve into something that, unless it becomes an issue. So what you're saying then is say, don't worry about it until it happens. and it's not that big a deal, and I don't see it happening that much. Would that be a fair statement?
Can't imagine it happening over huge issues. It's going to be the nitpicky minor stuff. I tell clients, I say, look, the more inspections you can get done on this house, the better. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We'll find different things. And if you look at 2 or 3 reports done on that house, you'll have a much better understanding of that house than any one report.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just did one. It doesn't happen very often, but I did one. Let's see, it was Wednesday or Thursday. Went through the house top to bottom. It's a 5,000 square foot house, had a pool, kind of a unique house. Went through it, and I actually found hail damage on this house. Come to find out, I didn't realize this until after I had left, and the homeowner had actually called me because I left a radon box in there, and she was just talking about coordinating, coming back to pick it up. But she told me, she said, do you remember inspecting this house back in 2013? So evidently I had already went through it. And of course my heart sank because I thought, oh God, I hope I've done that hail damage. So I pulled up the report, and I was actually pretty impressed. It was pretty much spot on, minus the things that they had fixed. They had quite a bit of rot on some window seals and things like that. They had went through and fixed a lot off of that report, but the major stuff, it was still all there. The things that I found, either it was there or it had been fixed. So very comparable report. And that was 5 years ago that I did that first one. So
yeah. That's cool. I've gone to visited houses before, and I back off, and I go into a room and I go, damn, this looks familiar. Why does this feel? Why do I feel like I've been here?
Well, don't you hate when you get into these kind of what's that development on Long Island where all the houses are exactly the same? You still see that where maybe they reverse the floor plan or whatever, but the houses are identical, house after house after house. And those developments, you can have deja vu moments for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, usually it's very rare that I don't pick up that I have been there before, but I didn't on that one. I went straight through it and didn't notice even once that it was the same house. That was pretty fun.
So they sell a phrases and comments book. So you've got some canned language. If you don't understand or think your canned language that comes prepackaged in your software sucks, then you can buy a book that might help you.
You buy somebody else's that sucks, right?
I did not say that.
That's not applicable to what you're looking at. That doesn't fit.
I did not say that.
You have to build your own narratives. I mean, you can use them maybe as starters, but they've got to fit your area.
Yeah. Is Jerry Peck in our group?
I don't know.
I thought I saw his name in it. Maybe not. Anyway, he's doing something with them, which is a advisor, inspectoradvisor.com. So if you have a question for $60 a year, you can hook up with Jerry and ask him questions. Or if you bought insurance through this group, they'll allow you to call in for free. You get a free membership.
Man, I gotta stop doing it for free, I guess.
You got to stop doing it for free. I saw your donate button there. That's a good idea, Mr. Charlie.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm amazed at how frequently somebody will throw 10, 20, $30 at me. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you won't have to worry about me doing that. It's going to be
I'm
60.
paid
If
up.
I throw something at you, it's going to be 50.
Oh, I see.
I'm paid up. I bought his dinner in Orlando, so I'm paid up for a little while.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's too good.
Dusty big time.
Well, look,
anybody with a kid like that gets free.
Well, I showed him. I was actually talking to Charles yesterday, and I showed him. I've got one of my comments, my canned comments for my report. It's actually linked back to his article that he's got about auto valves. So I give him full credit, and I give him some SEO points on that one.
Yeah, that's all good. That's all. You can't buy that kind of SEO.
Yeah,
good stuff. All good stuff. We're kind of getting toward the end of our time limit here of trying to hold our shows to 30 minutes, and we're pretty close here. I do want the listeners to know that we are putting our podcasts on Google is moving into the podcast, and this you just listen to this. I listened to a podcast the other day, and this is really interesting because Google is really getting good at the voice to text stuff. So what there is this potential that our podcast today would show up in search for some search term. And Google is preparing I don't think it's on desktop yet. I think it's on mobile, and I think it's on their mobile. It's not on the iPhone yet. So when you do the search for a certain term, you could get a podcast so that you just click the button and it jumped to where that term was talked about. So if we're talking about pre-listing inspections, it might be a podcast and they show you the time zone or time spot, time stamp in search, which is very cool.
And it's got to be way easier to turn a video into text than it is a picture. That's why it's so important to use all
audio, turn audio into text.
Well, yeah. But I mean, to turn just a plain picture into something that's searchable, you've got to use all the alternate text.
That's right, all the attributes.
Fill out all those boxes if you expect it to be found or searched.
So with that in mind, we of course have pushed our list of podcasts over to Google's podcast hosting section. So look for us there. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes, and now on Google.com. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Dusty, Charles, for hanging out with us, and this is Gary Smith, and talk soon.